Think about a time when you have felt a very deep sadness. Not a fleeting disappointment, but a weight that settled deep down inside of you. Maybe it was the ending of something precious or the pain of a loss. Whatever it was, just allow that feeling to resonate within you for a moment. What other emotions live in that same deep well within us? Grief, certainly. The ache of what is gone. And empathy, the ability to feel with another's pain. A connection that runs bone deep. These feelings, these emotions, they're not negative states to be avoided. They're part of what it means to be human. We often treat these deep emotions as unwelcome guests. We see sadness at a funeral, a natural response to death. So we want to avoid those types of feelings. Feeling like they're just ultimately negative. But consider this. Without the capacity for that sadness, would we truly understand the value of what we've lost? Think instead about a sad movie. Why does that move us? Why do some of you find yourselves drawn to the familiar story arc of a Hallmark movie? It's because within these stories we find a space to feel. We witness characters navigating heartbreak, disappointment, even despair, and in doing so, sometimes something within us is stirred up. It's a vicarious exercise for our emotional core. It's deep in our heart, deep in our guts. Imagine listening to a piece of music that truly moves you, or standing before a work of art that evokes a profound sense of longing or understanding, allowing yourselves to be touched by this art, this music, this movie, these experiences that go to a vital part of ourselves. If we consistently avoid these deeper feelings, that capacity can, like any muscle unexercised, become dormant, less responsive. We risk losing touch with a fundamental aspect of what it means to be human. Now, last Sunday I spoke about how the best decisions arise from the free flow of accurate information. And some people misinterpret what I say in purely rational terms, believing that emotions are a hindrance to good judgment. But I want to suggest something different. Our deepest emotions are vital information. They tell us about our values, our connections, our understandings of the human condition. And so decisions made without considering all of this emotion, this emotional data, the human element, those decisions often prove to be hollow, unworkable, and leading to actions that ultimately miss the mark. The best decisions aren't just built on facts, they are rooted in a clear understanding of our shared human experience, shared feelings, which includes the full spectrum of emotions. Perhaps the challenges we face in our world today, the seemingly endless cycle of poor decisions and unhelpful action, stem in part from our discomfort with these deeper feelings, our societal reluctance to make space for them in our collective problem solving. And so, having said that, let's consider the story of Pilate as told in Luke's Gospel. We see Pilate's legal maneuvering, his attempts to appease the crowd. But what is absent in the story is a sense of Pilate's own inner emotional landscape. Matthew's account, compared to Luke's, adds the detail of Pilate, you recall, washing his hands, a symbolic act of emotional detachment, a refusal to invest himself emotionally in the human cost of his decision. And what was the result? A decision that echoes throughout the history of humanity as a profound injustice. Decisions made by suppressing or ignoring the weight of human emotion can and do lead to devastating consequences. If we aren't creating space for sadness, grief, empathy in our lives, if we're just numbing our emotions, we just find that distractions become habits, just anything that can have us avoiding feeling that discomfort. Think about the online world. How often do we see genuine expressions of sorrow quickly overtaken by something else? Rage. The comment sections, the news clickbait, just often feels like a marketplace for outrage. When tragedy strikes, a plane crashes, a school shooting, the initial outpouring of grief swiftly drowned out by anger directed at the pilot's identity, the perpetrator's background, the political affiliation. The tears are barely dry before the rage shouting begins. Our emotions need to be felt, acknowledged, processed, owned by us. When we don't make that space, those feelings don't simply disappear. They fester, twist, and often manifest into something that becomes more volatile, like rage, a powerful anesthetic that prevents us from truly feeling that underlying pain, numbing us. And what's the consequence of that numbing? The free flow of information is blocked, leading once again to poor decisions and negative outcomes, injustice. And this is where the story of Pilate takes on another layer here. Not only does he seem detached from his own deeper feelings, but the raw, unfiltered rage of the crowd becomes the deciding factor in the legal judgment. Crucify him! Crucify him, they roared. It just sounds like our world each day. Crucify him! Crucify her! I don't care. In that moment with Pilate, a legal decision was driven not by justice or compassion, but by the immediate, visceral anger, not the deeper feelings, the rage of the masses. a stark reminder of how unchecked, unprocessed emotion can lead to terrible choices. We call this day Good Friday, and some find that confusing, given the story that we're reading. What's good about Friday? And while the word good here really carries an older meaning of holy, I want to add another perspective. By opening ourselves to the heavy emotions that arise from hearing the story of Jesus' suffering and death, we engage with something profoundly human. We allow ourselves to feel sorrow, empathy, and a sense of injustice. And in that shared experience of deep feeling, something transformative can happen. It nurtures the flow of authentic emotional understanding within us, which in turn can guide us towards more compassionate and just decisions in our lives and in our shared world. That's part of the good of this Friday. So again, think about a time when you allowed yourself to truly feel a difficult emotion without immediately trying to fix it or push it away or numb it. Perhaps it was after a difficult conversation, or you're facing some personal setback, whatever it was. Did that willingness to sit with the discomfort, to process the feeling, ultimately lead to a clearer understanding of the situation and a more thoughtful response? I'd like to say, I think it did. Deep feelings, your deep feelings, they need a space to be processed. And we're eating up those spaces. Consider a time before the constant connectivity to our smartphones. If something troubled us late at night, you know, those 3 a.m. ruminations when you just can't fall asleep. Well, something painful is keeping us awake there in the quiet darkness. In those days, before smartphones, that physical and mental space allowed for a deeper processing of our feelings, so that we could wrestle with, what should I do? How do I make sense of the situation? And that would, there in the darkness of 3 a.m., usually lead to either a sense of acceptance or understanding or some clear path forward. But today, when those uncomfortable feelings surface in the still of the night at 3 a.m., our phones are right there, offering a quick escape into the numbing scrolling of social media, which is a landscape saturated with the very rage that prevents us from sitting with our emotions. As we move through this weekend, through the solemnity of Good Friday and the quiet anticipation of Holy Saturday, and before the joy of Easter Sunday, I invite you to create some of that quiet space. Create it for yourself. Allow the story that we remember, the story of Jesus, to be a catalyst for that. And don't shy away from whatever heavy feelings that the story evokes, and instead lean into those feelings. And in that space of reflection, in that willingness to feel, you may find a deeper connection with your own humanity and a clearer path towards good decisions in our world that our world so desperately needs. Amen.